Hey everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. In today's video, we are diving into essential sorting and swapping challenges that will sharpen the JavaScript skills and help us to tackle the real world problems as well. Here we will cover how to swap the values using destructuring assignment, swap values with a temporary variable, sort an array in a descending order, and sort an array in an ascending order. These challenges are fundamental for coding interviews and in any project that involves data manipulation. So please grab a notebook, follow along, and let's explore this exciting sorting and swapping problems. And if you get stuck anywhere on any question, please drop a comment. I am here to help. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coding content. And let's get started with the first question. And the first question is all about swapping the values of two variables using destructuring. So let's proceed with this challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. If we see in the VS Code, we have our question, right, along with the sample input and output. So let us read out the question. What is the question? We have to write a JavaScript function that swaps the values of two variables using destructuring assignment. Okay. And in the input, we have been provided with two variables, that is A and B. And what are the values assigned? A is equal to 5 and B is equal to 10. And in the output, if we see, it is A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 5. So clearly we can see the values have been swapped, right? From 5, it has become 10 and from 10, it has become 5. So here we have to do the swapping, but while doing swapping, we have to remember that we have to use the destructuring concept here. So let us come down and let us see how we are going to do it. Let us come down and we will break down this particular question. So first we are going to write here what JS function. Okay, why? Because we have to write a JavaScript function, correct? Now, what is the next important part of this question? That we have to swap the values of two variables, right? So that also we will take here and we will put it over here. And the most important thing here is that we have to use the destructuring assignment. So let us put it over here that as well. Okay. So these are the three important part of this question. Okay. Now, since we have to swap the values of two variables, we will come here and we will define our function name as what? Swap values. Okay. And we will write here what? Parenthesis. Okay. Now, let us understand how we are going to swap the values of two variables using the destructuring assignment. So let us come here and we will understand the approach and we will write here what? Approach. Okay. Now in this question, it has been clearly mentioned that we have to use a destructuring concept, right? So we will write here what? Destructuring. Okay. Now what does this destructuring allows us to do? It allows us to unpack the values from arrays or object into a distinct variable. So I will write here what? Unpack the values. Okay. Now in this question, we are going to work with the arrays. Okay. So we will understand how we can destructure an array. Okay. So let us come here and we will take one sample array. So I will declare here with a variable like const arr is equal to, and I will write here what? 1 comma 2 comma 3. Now suppose if I want to access 1 or if I want to access 2. So that means I am trying to access the elements of an array. So how can I access the element of an array? By using the index numbers, right? So I will write here what? Console.log ARR of what? 0. What will be the output? I should get 1. We are trying to access it through the index number. So I will write here what? Index number. Let us come and test it in the terminal. I will come here and I will write here what? Node day 58 challenge and I will hit enter. What I got 1. That was our desired output, right? Now let us come and access 3. Now what is the index number? The index number is 2, right? So we will write here what? Console.log ARR of what? 2, right? Let us come and test it now in the terminal. So I will write here what? Node day 58 challenge and we will hit enter. What I got 3. So that means I am able to access it through the index number. Now suppose I don't want to access it with the index number. Why I am saying it? Now here we have only 1, 2 and 3. Suppose you have more elements in an array. So in that case, can we remember the place where it is lying, right? We cannot remember the index numbers, right? So what you will write it? You will write here what? Const A comma B comma C. Okay. and you will write here array. So what you are doing at left hand side, you are declaring it an array that is a comma b comma c, and here you are writing right hand side is equal to arr. So now what will happen eventually, here you have how many elements here, a b and c, right? And in the right side also you have 1 2 and 3. That means both the elements are matching, right? The number of elements are matching, a b c and 1 2 3, the length is 3, right? So what will happen, whenever you're trying to access your A, you will get 1. Whenever you're trying to access your B, you will get 2. Now you don't have to remember your index numbers. It will automatically assign it. Let us test that out. So I will write here what, console.log A comma B comma C. I will write it directly like this. Okay. Let us come here in the terminal and I will write here what, node day 58 challenge, and I will hit enter. What I got, C. 1, 2, and 3. That means I am able to access it without an index number. I don't have to remember. Okay. So this is what is your destructuring concept. So whenever you want to use this destructuring concept, what you are going to do, in the left hand side, you are going to create an array of a variable names. Okay. Like a comma b comma c, or number 1, number 2, number 3. It can be anything. Okay. And in the right hand side, you are going to pass your actual array. And then if you test it out, you will get here what, 1 2 and 3. Suppose you take one more example. Okay, I will write here one more array. So I'll write here const array 1 is equal to, and I write here 10 comma 20 comma 30. Okay, and now if you come down and you write here what, const now num1 comma num2 comma num3. Okay, and here what you will write is equal to, you are going to write arr1. Okay, now you write here what, console.log of num1 comma num2. Whatever you will console, only that values you will get. Now you should get what, 10 comma 20, right? So you will get 10 and 20. So let us come here and type here what, node day 58 challenge, and you hit enter. What you get, 10 and 20, right? So this is what it is doing. It is unpacking it and it is giving you the values, right? Now one more important point here to remember. See, here whenever you're doing it, don't put it in the double quotes. Okay, you are declaring a variable. Okay, here, so that is why you remember it. You are not going to put it in a double quotes. So you are declaring an array, and inside that there are variables which will directly go and assign to the elements of the right hand side array values. So this is what is a destructuring concept. Similar concept we are going to use for the swapping also. Okay, now here what we will do, now let us come here to the question. Now we know that this is our input, right? A is equal to 5 and B is equal to 10, right? Now from this, can we create an array? We can create an array, right? We can create an array called as a comma B, right? So that is what here we are going to do it. So we are directly going to write what, const, okay, a comma b we will write here. Okay, this is the variable declaration here we are doing, and right hand side we are going to use our array that is b comma a. So we can do it both the ways, a comma b, b comma a. Now if you see your num1, we know it is representing 10. We know num2 is representing 20. How it is representing? Let us take this array. Okay, so we will come here and we will put here this particular array like this. Okay, now num1 is what, 10, num2 is what, 20, and num3 is what, 30. This is what it is happening. Now let us come here and take this as well. So now our b comma a is what, 10 comma 5, right? If we substitute the values correct, so what will happen, a will represent 10 and b will represent 5. So automatically now the values have been swapped, right? Now a will be 10 and b will be 5, right? That is what it is going to happen. And in the input, if you see, what was a value, 5, what was b value, 10, automatically it has swapped, and we have done this efficiently without needing any temporary variable. So we have swapped the values without needing any temporary variable. So we have used here destructuring to reassign the values, correct? Now let us come down and implement the same thing inside our function. Before that, we will just comment out the rest of the things. Okay, so I'll just comment out this as well. Now let us come down and write our function. So I will write here what function, and I will write here what swap values, right? And let us quickly invoke it. So I will write here what swap values, and we will pass our input values. That is nothing but 5 comma 10, right? We can see here a is equal to 5 and b is equal to 10. So this is what we are going to pass it. Now let us come here and we will receive here what a comma b. Okay. Now let us just test it out by writing what console dot a comma b. Okay. So I will come here and write this. So we will come here and we will write what node 58 challenge, and we will hit enter. What do we got? We got 5 comma 10. That means this function is successfully running. Okay. After this, what we are going to do? We are going to use the destructuring to swap the value. So I will write here what a comma b is equal to b comma a. Okay. And in this, we are not going to write const because we are using the params, right? Let us take this console.log and we will put here also to test the swapping. Okay. So let us write here what node 58 challenge, and we will hit enter. What do we get? 10 and 5, right? So if you see clearly, we have swapped it, right? So we can write here what? Before swap and after swap. So let us use our template literals, and I will write here what? First of all, I will put this into flower braces, okay? This is a comma b, right? So let us write it like this, and we will write here b also in the flower braces. Let us come here. This also we will put it in the template literals, okay? Dollar a, and like this, and here we will remove this comma dollar b. Okay, like this flower braces we will write it. So we have now inserted inside the template literals. Let us clear the terminal and let us see, do we have any change now? Let us hit enter. What do we get? 5 and 10, 10 and 5. Now we can write here the statement, right? We will write here what? Before swap. Okay, and we will write here what a value was. Okay, so I will write just a is equal to before swap, and I will write here b is equal to. Okay, let us write it like this. And now let us come down and we will write here what? After swap. So I will write here what? After swap. I will write a is equal to like this, and here we will write what? B space is equal to space, and now let us test it. So I'll write here what? Node day 58 challenge, and we will hit enter. See what we get. So we have got before swap a is equal to 5, b is equal to 10, and after swap a is equal to 10, b is equal to 5. So if you see, we are clearly getting this particular thing in the console, what was being expected from us, right? You can invoke it with a different values also. Let us come here and we can invoke it one more time. We will write here swap values, and let us write here 30 comma 40. So we will write here what? Node day 58 challenge, and we will hit enter. What we get? A is equal to 30, b is equal to 40 before swap, and after swap it is a is equal to 40 and b is equal to 30, right? So this is what we have done, and we have got our exact output also. Okay. Now let us have a quick recap of this question. So let us read our question, what it was being asked. We have to write a JavaScript function that swaps the two variables using the destructuring assignment, right? And we had the input and output, right? Then at line number 7, 8, and 9, we took the important parts from the question and we wrote here, right? What was the important part? That we have to write a JS function. So we defined our function name as what? Swap values. Then we swap the values of the two variables using the destructuring assignment, right? So we understood with the help of the input that initially a value was 5 and b value was 10. And after swapping, we need a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 5. That too using a destructuring concept, right? Then we also understood what is destructuring, right? And we understood using an array, right? So that is what we have done here. What does destructuring do? It is going to unpack the values from the arrays or objects into a distinct variables, right? So to swap the values, what we have done, we have used this destructuring assignment. And then we came down and we understood also how to write the same thing inside our function also. So we wrote our function swap values, and we printed the value before swap and after swap, right? And this was our destructuring. See how small it is. The name is so big, destructuring an array. But what we have written at line number 31 is just a very small thing, right? But it is very important to understand the concept. If you understand it, it is easy. Otherwise, it will be difficult. So you will have to understand the destructuring concept, and we have used here destructuring to reassign the values. That is why it is efficiently swapping the values without needing any temporary variable. Okay. And then what we have done, we have just improvised the console.log statements as well. So at line number 35 and 36, we have invoked this, right, two times by passing first time 5 comma 10 and second time 30 and 40. So what it is doing, whenever we are invoking it, it destructuring and swap the values. So function prints both before and after states as well, right? That is what we have done, before and after both it is printing. Okay, so if you come here and test it in the terminal, so what you will get, node day 58 challenge. Okay, and if you hit enter, you will get the swapping of the values, right? So we are getting the proper values what was being expected after the swapping. Okay, so that is what it has been asked. Now I will tell you guys why this challenge is important, because I will tell you guys why this challenge is important. Because destructuring is a modern and a concise feature in JavaScript. It improves code readability and avoids the need for a temporary variable during the swaps. I want also you to explore the other applications of destructuring, like unpacking the arrays, nested objects, and swapping multiple values. Let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is swapping the values of two variables using a temporary variable. Okay, so let's proceed with this challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. If we see in the VS Code, we have here our question along with the sample input and output. Okay, so let us read the question, that we have to write a JavaScript function that swaps the values of two variables using a temporary variable. Okay, and if we see here, we have the input example also. What is the input? A is equal to 3, B is equal to 7. And in the output, what we have? A is equal to 7 and B is equal to 3, right? So the values have been swapped. But here we have to use a temporary variable, okay? So let us proceed with this. So let us come here and we will break down this particular question. So we will write here what first? JS function, okay? Why JavaScript function? Because we have to write a function, correct? After that, what is the next important part? That we have to swap the values of two variables, right? So let us take and we will put it over here. Now, what is the next important part here? That we have to swap the two variables, but we have to use a temporary variable, right? So let us take here that as well, okay? Now, since this question is asking to swap the values, right, of two variables, so we will come here and we will define our function name as what? Swap values. Okay, so I will write it like this with a parenthesis. Okay, and they have said you have to take a temporary variable. So what we will do, we will take a variable here called as a temp. Okay, so let us declare it and keep it. So I will write here what? Let temp. Okay, like this. Okay, now let us come down and we will understand the approach for swapping the values of two variables using a temporary variable. Okay, so let us come down and we will write here what? Approach. Okay, now in this question we are going to consider this as our input. Okay, what is the input? A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 7. Okay, now if you see here, they have said using a temporary variable, right? So for that, we declared a variable called as a temp. So let us take that variable here, okay? Now, what is the use of this temporary variable? What it is going to store? This temporary variable will be used to store the value of the first variable during the swap, okay? So value of the first variable, it is going to store. What is the first variable value? That is nothing but the 3. So how it will store? We will use a assignment operator. What we will do? Temp is equal to A we will write. So what will happen? It will store 3, right? So temp will have now 3 as a value assigned to it. Okay. Now what is we are going to do in the next case? Now in this, the first variable, we are going to assign the value of the second variable. Okay. So what is the first variable? A is the first variable, and in this we will assign the value of the second variable. What is the value of the second variable? That is 7. How we can assign it? We will assign here what? A is equal to B, right? So then only it will become what? A is equal to 7. So if you see the output, we got the output as A is equal to 7. So that is what we have done here. Now, one more time, we are going to assign the value. Okay, but where and what? Now we have to update the value of B as well, right? So what we will do, we will come here and we will assign the temporary variable to the second variable. So we will write here what B is equal to 10. Now what is our B value? B value was 7, right? Now what is the temp value? Temp value is 3. So B is equal to temp means B is equal to 3 will happen right here. So I will write here what? B is equal to 3. So from B is equal to 7, it became B is equal to 3 because we used the assignment operator to update the value of it. So if you see here what we got here A is equal to what? 7. Okay. And then we got what? B is equal to 3. If you see the output, we have reached to this particular output, right? So what we have done, we have swapped the values, right? First, it was A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 7. Now it is what? A is equal to 7 and B is equal to 3. And finally, we will log the swapped values, okay? So in this case, we have declared a temporary variable. In this temporary variable, we are storing the value of the first variable, okay? After that, in the first variable, what we are doing? We are assigning the value of our second variable, right? And in the second variable, we are assigning the value of our temporary variable and hence our values are swapped. So what we have done? Temp is equal to A is equal to B, and B is equal to temp, right? This is what is the final approach we are going to do it. Now let us come down and we will implement the same thing in our function also, okay? So let us write our function. So I will write here what function and our function name will be what? Swap values, right? And let us quickly invoke it. So I will write here what? Swap values, right? And in this we are going to pass what? 3 comma 7. Okay. So we will write here 3 comma 7. And let us receive here as a params as what? A comma B, right? So what this will be? I will write here params. Okay. And this is what 3 comma 7 is nothing but arguments. Okay. Now let us come here and we will just console it out. So I will write here what? Console.log A comma B. And now just let us test in the terminal whatever the argument we are passing, this function is able to receive it or not. Okay. So let us write here what? Node day 59 challenge. Okay. And we will hit enter. What we got? We got here 3 comma 7, right? So let us come here and we will start swapping the values of the two variable using a temporary variable. Okay. So what we will write? We will declare our first temporary variable, let temp, and then what we are going to do? Temp is equal to A, correct? After that, what we will do? A is equal to B, right? And then we are going to do what? B is equal to temp, correct? And then finally, let us come down and let us console it one more time, the A and B values. Let us see what we get. So I will write here what? Console.log A comma B, okay? Now let us come here and we will test it again. So note day 59 challenge and we will hit enter, right? What we got? 7 comma 3. So we can see here clearly that we have swapped the values. First it was 3 comma 7. Now it is what? 7 comma 3. Now let us improvise our console.log statement and we will frame it in a proper sentence. Okay. So let us use our template literal syntax and we will wrap this inside dollar and flower braces. So let us come here and put dollar and flower braces to the A and same dollar flower braces to the B also. Okay. And what we will write before swap, I will write here before swap. Okay. A is equal to, we will write, okay. And we will write here what? We'll remove this comma and I will write here what? And B is equal to, okay. This is we are going to write. Let us do the same thing here as well. So I will put here template literal syntax and let us wrap inside our dollar and flower braces first to A and B. So I will write here what? Dollar flower braces to the A and dollar flower braces to the B as well. And we will write here after swap, okay. So let us write here after swap. A is equal to, okay, let us write this and we will remove this comma and here also we will write and B is equal to, let us write it like this and let us put space here as well and now let us test it in the terminal, okay. So we will clear the terminal and we will write here what? Node day 59 challenge and we will hit enter. So what we got? Before swap A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 7 and after swap A is equal to 7 and B is equal to 3. If you see, we have clearly executed this, and whatever the approach we wrote, the same thing we have written inside our function. So we have implemented this successfully and we are getting it, right? So now let us come here and try with another input as well. So I will write here what swap values, and let us write here 10 comma 30. Okay. And let us retest it. So I will write here what node day 59 challenge, and we will hit enter. What I get, A is equal to 10, B is equal to 30, right? Before swapping. After swapping, A is equal to 30 and B is equal to 10. So any two values, if you are passing it while invocation, it is going to perform it correctly. Okay. Now let us have a quick recap of this question. Okay. So let us read out one more time the question. We have to write what? A JS function, correct? That swaps the values of two variables using a temporary variable, correct? And here we had our input and output, right? After that, what we did in line number 7, 8, and 9, we took the important chunks of the question, right? First, we had to write a JS function. So wherein we defined our function name as what? Swap values, right? After that, what we did at line number 8, we wrote what is the exact thing we have to do. So swap the values of the two variables using a temporary variable. So that is where we thought our temporary variable name will be temp. So we declared it here, right? Then at line number 12, we wrote our approach. And for that, we use the sample input, right? Which was been provided. A is equal to 3, B is equal to 7, right? Then we declared our temporary variable, right? Why? Because they said you have to swap the values of these two variables using a temporary variable, right? So we declared a temporary variable, and now this temporary variable will be used to store the value of the first variable during the swap, right? So that is what we have done. Temp is equal to A, and A value is 3. That is where you are getting temp is equal to 3, right? Now, after that, what we have done in our first variable, what is our first variable? That is nothing but the A. So in the first variable, we are assigning the value of the second variable by using what? Assignment operator. What is the assignment operator? Is equal to, right? So that is what we have done. So A is equal to B we have done, and we are getting what? A is equal to 7. Okay. Now, after that, what we did in the second variable also, we have assigned the value of our temporary variable by using a assignment operator itself. So we did here what? B is equal to temp, and that is where we got B is equal to 3. So if you see, that is what is our output, right? A is equal to 7 and B is equal to 3, right? So we have successfully swapped the values, right? And then finally, we have to log our swapped values, right? Then the same thing we wrote inside our function as well, right? So we came at line number 21 and we defined our function name as what? Swapped values, right? And we are passing the params here A comma B, because we have to ensure that we are passing the two values and receiving the two values, correct? Then we just consoled our the statement that before swap, what is the value? So that is what we have consoled at line number 22. And same thing we have done. Let temp, and then temp is equal to A is equal to B, and B is equal to temp, right? After all this thing, we have again consoled our statement that what is happening after the swap. So we have wrote here what? After swap, what will be the A value and what will be the B value, right? Then at line number 29 and 30, we have invoked, right? So we are passing the values 3 comma 7 at line number 29. At line number 30, we are passing what? 10 comma 30. Now, if we consider this particular input, what is happening? Temp stores the value of A, that is nothing but 3. Then A is updated to the value of B, that is nothing but 7. And B later on gets updated with the value of temp, that is nothing but our 3, right? So final result is what? A is equal to 7 and B is equal to 3. Similarly, for this invocation also, it is happening the same thing. So let us come here in the terminal. We will clear the terminal and rerun it. So I will write here what? Node day 59 challenge, and we will hit enter. Now let us see, for both the invocations we have done, we are getting the correct output, right? So that is what it was expected from us, and we have successfully achieved as well. Now I will tell you why this challenge is important, guys. This traditional method introduces the concept of temporary variables, which are crucial in programming. It is useful in the situations where modern ES6 features like destructuring are not available. Also, guys, we have done this challenge using the destructuring as well. It's a day 58 challenge. So I want you all to please visit that as well and see what is a difference between if you use a destructuring and if you don't use a destructuring. If you're using a destructuring, then no need of a temporary variable. If you're not using a destructuring, then you have to use a temporary variable. So that is what I said. It is useful in the situations where destructuring is not available. Okay. So you can try both the ways and you can let me know in the comment as well which one was the best one. Okay. And also, I want you to tell you always name your variables clearly, like using temp. If you're using temporary variable, use it a clear variable. Don't give a vague names, okay? Give a proper name. So if you have seen through the challenges, whatever we have done, we are clearly using the variable specific to the challenges, right? So why we are doing so? Because it helps us to improve the code readability and debugging. So I want you also should do the same. Let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is all about sorting an array in a descending order without using any inbuilt method. So let's proceed with this challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. In the VS Code, we have our question along with the sample input and output, right? So let us read out the question. What is the question? We have to write a JavaScript function to sort an array in an descending order without using any inbuilt method, right? And if we see our input, what we have been provided with an array, right? And if you see in the output, it is a descending order sorted array, correct? That is, if you see the input is what? 615243, and what do you have in the output? You have 654321. So it has been sorted, but it is in a descending order. So this is what we have to do. So let us come down and we will break down this particular question. So first of all, what we have to write? We have to write a JS function, right? So I will write here what? JS function, okay? And in the next line, what we are going to write? We are going to write, we have to sort an array in descending order, right? So we will come here and we will put here that as well. Now what we will keep our function name? We will keep our function name as what? Sort array, because we want to sort an array, right? So let us come here and keep our function name as sort array with a parenthesis, okay? Now let us come down and understand this particular question, okay? How we are going to solve it. So for that, we are going to write here approach, okay? So now let us come down and we will understand the approach, okay? In this question, we are going to use a nested for loop, okay? So I will just write here what? Nested for loop. Now you will say why we need a nested for loop here, because if you see the input and output, okay, what is the input? It is a scattered, right? What is the output? Here we have arranged, or you can say it is being sorted in a descending order, right? So there you need a comparison, right? That you are going to compare 6 with 1, 6 with 5, 6 with 2, 6 with 4, 6 with 3, so on, right? That is what here you will do. You will compare it and you will sort it here, correct? So that is why we will need a for loop here, and that too we are going to use a nested for loop, because we want to compare our each element of the array with the other, okay? So how you are going to write? Nested for loop means you will have your I loop, and inside that you will be writing your J loop, okay? Now let us see how we are going to write it, okay? So we will write here what? For. Then we will write here let I is equal to 0. Why? Because it's an array, right? Our array index starts at 0. So obviously, whenever we are working with an array and with a loop, you will have to write here I is equal to 0, okay? And then what we will do? I is less than ARR dot length, right? And then we will write here what? I plus plus, okay? Now this I loop will be responsible for what? You know, the number of iterations. First, it is going to do our number of iterations. So how many iterations we have to perform here? If you count this, there are 6 elements here, right? The length of the array is what? 6, right? So that means we have to perform here what? 6 iterations. So our I loop will be responsible for performing the number of iterations. If you had 10 elements, it will perform 10 iterations. So the first thing, it is going to take care of the number of iterations. Okay. Now inside this, we have to write our J loop, right? So we will come here and we will write here J loop. And this is going to start at what? This will not start at J is equal to 0. It will start at J is equal to I. So I will write here what? J is equal to I. Now your question will be, why J is equal to I? Because when we start J is equal to I, we will not be comparing the element with itself. Okay. Because whenever we are performing it, we will see that it is getting sorted out. So after getting sorted out, we don't want to compare which has been already sorted, right? So we are not going to compare an element which is sorted and with itself also we don't want. That is why we will start our J loop as J is equal to I, and we will end this loop at arr dot length minus 1 only. So I will put here what? J less than arr dot length, right? And then we will increment this as well. Okay. Now what is this J loop will be responsible? If I have to say alone J loop cannot do anything, we will have to take help of I loop also. So both I and J loop will be responsible for selecting the element and comparing the each and every element. So here both of them will select and we are going to compare. Okay. Now we know if we want to compare, what we are going to use, we are going to use our if condition. Okay. So we will come here and we will write our if condition. And in this now, what will be the condition now? Here the condition we are going to write, always our I value should be lesser than our J value. So I will write here what? Our I value should be lesser than our J value. So what will be the condition then inside it? ARR of I should be lesser than ARR of J. Now I will tell you the first iteration how it is going to perform. Okay. So now what will be the I value? I value will be 6, correct? Because I is going to start at what? 0. What is the 0th index? It is 6, right? So I value will be 6. Now what will be J value? J value will also be 6, right? Because J is equal to I, right? So I will write here what? J is equal to 6. Okay. Now then it will come here to the condition and it will what? Check 6 is lesser than 6 or not. Okay. Here it will get false and it will not enter inside our if condition. Okay. Now after that, what will happen? Our I value will remain constant here again. So I value will be 6 and our J value is going to increase, right, by 1. So if it is J plus plus, then it is going to go for the next index. So it will go for our first index. So it will check for 6 is lesser than 1 or not. Okay. After that, so on it is going to do. Then again your I value will remain the same. Okay. And what it will check here now, I'll take this down. Then what it will check now, I value will be the same. So 6 and it is going to check with what? With 5. And so on it is going to perform. Now this is when I is equal to 0th index. That means I is equal to 6. Similarly, now it will go for the next thing. So we will see this everything inside our function. I will console it each and everything and I will explain you in detail about the iteration, what is J going to do, what is I going to do, and what we are going to do inside our if condition. Now, what is the next thing? Now we need to know, right? In this if condition, we are going to compare it, correct? But comparison only will not give me the sorted array, right? So then what we have to do inside this, we have to do the swapping, okay? We know that how to swap, right? So we have done swapping in 2 different ways in the previous challenges, right? What we do, we declare a temporary variable and then we assign the values to it, right? So temporary variable will have your first variable value, right? After that, what you will do, your first variable will have your second variable value, correct? And then your second variable value will be assigned to which value? The temporary value, right? So that is what we are going to do here. So we have done the swapping in our previous challenges. So I request you all, please watch those videos as well. You will understand swapping in much better way, okay? So once our swapping is completed, it is going to update our our original array. So after all the iterations are completed, we will have a values with an updated array, that too of a swapped values. So then it will be in a sorted form. And then once our entire iterations are completed, we will log our final array, and that array will be a sorted array. Let us come down and implement the same thing inside our function. So I will write here what function, and our function name will be what sort array, right? Let us quickly invoke it. Okay, so I will write here what sort array, and in this we are going to pass our input array, right? So let us take this input array which is written at line number 4, and we will pass it over here, right, as an argument. Okay, now let us receive here at line number 22 as a param. So I will write here what ARR, correct? And let us quickly console it out. So I will write here what console.log ARR, correct? And let us test it in the terminal. So we will write here node day 60 challenge, correct? And we will hit enter. So what we got our input array. That means this function is successfully working. Okay. Now let us write our nested for loop inside this. So we will come here and we will first write our I loop. Okay. So we will write here what for let I is equal to 0, correct? And I should be lesser than what? ARR dot length, correct? Because it should run till length minus 1, correct? So that is why we are going to do it here what? I less than ARR dot length, right? And then we will write here what? I plus plus, correct? Now let us come down and we will write our J loop also. Now J should start from where? I, right? So I will write here what? For J is equal to I, correct? And then J should also be less than what? ARR dot length, correct? And then here it will be what? J plus plus, okay? So before writing our if condition, what we are going to do here, we will be just writing a console.log statement, and in this we are going to print it what happens when I is equal to 0, J is equal to I, and we will get the values also at that positions. Okay, so let us use our template literals, and I will write here what I is equal to dollar of I. Okay, so that means I will get here what I is equal to 0. Okay, now let us write here what J is equal to dollar of J, right? So that means what we will get here when J is equal to I, that means I is equal to 0 and J is equal to 0, correct? After that, let us write here the values also. Okay, so we will come here and write what ARR of I. Okay, ARR of I is equal to dollar flower braces ARR of I. So we will get here I is equal to 0. At that time, what is the I value? That means it is 6, right? And at that time, what is the J value also? So we will write here what ARR of J, and we will write here what dollar ARR of J. Okay, so let us come here and we will just test it in the terminal. What do we get? Okay, so we will come here and we will write here what node day 60 challenge, and we will hit enter. Now let us come here and we will understand the iterations. Okay, so what is happening, and then we will go and understand how we can sort. Okay, so if you see here, what do we have? I is equal to 0, J is equal to 0, right? And these are the values we are getting when I is equal to 0 and J is equal to 0. So we can see clearly here, when I is equal to 0, what will be the value? 6. When J is equal to 0, what will be the value? 6 again. Why? Because we are starting here J is equal to I. Because of that reason. Okay. Now when we are doing this, I is equal to 0 and I is lesser than ARR dot length and I plus plus, what it is going to do? It will check for the condition, right, that it is going to be true or false. It is true, right? And it will increment as well. So we will get here what after I is equal to 0, it will increment and keep what I is equal to 1, right? So I will write here what I is equal to 1. So that is what we are going to get here, correct? After that, what will happen? It will enter inside this J loop, right? Now what we have written, J is equal to I, right? So J will start also at I. That means here we will have j is equal to 0. That is what we are getting here, j is equal to 0. And we have checked what is the value also. Its value will be what? 6, that we have already got here, correct? Now after that it will check the condition, correct? The condition turns out to be true, right? So it is going inside and it is printing me this line, correct? And then it is going to increment also. So after that, what you will get? J plus plus. So that means J value will become 1, right? Similarly, it will again check for this condition, right? And then it will print this line and it will increment also. So we will get here what? J is equal to 2. And it will go till what point? J is equal to 5, right? That is what you are getting here. J is equal to 0, J is equal to 1, J is equal to 2, J is equal to 3, J is equal to 4, and J is equal to 5. When it reaches to j is equal to 6 now, the condition will fail, okay? The condition will fail and here the loop is going to terminate, okay? So we will get here what? Termination at this point, correct? And then because of this termination, what will happen? It will go again to your I loop, okay? So it will come here and increment. We have already done I is equal to 1. And that is where now it will be I is equal to 1 and it will check 1 is less than ARR dot length or not. And if it is true, it is going to enter inside our J loop and it will increment as well, right? That is why you see you have here iterations, correct? So first time it is going to iterate here like this, then I is equal to 1, and then again it is going to iterate like this, I is equal to 2, and then again it is going to iterate. Here only the change is what? Since we have written j is equal to I, that is where you are going to start here. Now, first time j is equal to 0, right? Here it will start then j is equal to 1, correct? Because j value depends upon our I value, right? So that is why you are going to get it. And here there will be a one less iteration because it is not going to start from 0. So it will start from 1 to 5, correct? Then in the next iteration, it will start from 2, right? And that is where you are going to get one less iteration here again. So it will be what? From 2 to 5, right? So that is why you are getting this iteration here, correct? And it is going so on. So if you see here, now I is equal to 3, that is where j is equal to 3, correct? And that is where j is equal to 3, j is equal to 4, and j is equal to 5. So here, since we are starting with j is equal to I, you will have a less iterations when you proceed here. So one iteration will always be less here, okay? Now let us come here inside it. Now we have to write our if condition to compare, right? Now we will be using both the loops for selecting and comparing it up, right? So now what we will write here, what? If condition we are going to write. And we will write here what? If ARR of I, the same logic what I have explained you here, okay? I value should be lesser than j value, okay? So that is why we are going to write ARR of I lesser than ARR of j, okay? So that is what I am going to write here. And inside this, we are going to write our swapping logic, okay? So before swapping, we will check whether it is entering inside this if condition or not, okay? So what we will do, we will come here and we will take this console.log statement and we will put it as it is, okay? And we will write here what? Inside I will just write here. Inside I will write, and we will write here what? With a hyphen, because I want to show you each and everything what is happening inside it, okay? So let us come here and we will clear the terminal and we will rerun it one more time, okay? So we will write here what? Node day 60 challenge and we will hit enter, okay? So now what do you see? This is our array, right? So if you see in the terminal, we have got this values, right? Now for this values, our if condition is turning out to be false. That is why it is not entering inside this if condition, okay? Similarly here as well, for all these cases also, it is turning out to be false. That is why it is not allowed to enter and go inside our if condition. So let us see while we are comparing when we are getting true, when we are getting false. So we will understand this question very deeply, okay? So let us write here what? console.log, and we will use our this comparison only. So I will first use my template literal, and I will write here what dollar, and I will write here ARR of I. Okay. Then we will come outside and we will write here lesser than symbol, and I will write here what dollar flower braces ARR of J, right? After that, what we will do, we will use is equal to, and we will write here what dollar, and inside this we will write ARR of I, okay, lesser than ARR of J. Like this we are going to write it, okay? Now let us rerun it and test it in our terminal. So first I will clear the terminal, okay? Now let us write here what node day 60 challenge, and we will hit enter, okay? Now let us see here. Now you will see here in the first instance what you are getting. This is our array, right? When this is the value, it is comparing and it is giving false. 6 is less than 6? No, right? 6 is equal to 6. So it turns out to be false. Here also 6 is lesser than 1? No. Here also 6 is lesser than 5? No. So when the values are j is equal to 0, j is equal to 1, j is equal to 3, when I is equal to 0, you have the values here, right? Now you can easily see here and watch out, okay? So please pause here for some time and do watch out and understand the iteration very clearly, because here I have shown you very nicely what is your I value, what is your j value, what is the value inside the array, and when it is turning out true and false. Now you see when I is equal to 1 and j value is 2, that means there it is going inside it, right? So that means when for the first iteration, when I is equal to 0, every time it is turning out to be false. Because if you see here also, 6 is greater, right? And we have written our 6 should be lesser, but it is not ideally, right? Our I value should be lesser. That is why it is turning out to be false. Now, that is where the loop terminates here, right? Because it goes till j is equal to 5 and it finds out that there is no value to increment it, correct? And here the condition fails and the loop terminates. Our first iteration is completed, and in the comparison it is getting every time false, okay? Now here our j loop will terminate, and again it will go to our I loop, and it will see I is equal to 1, okay, and I is less than ARR dot length, it is true, and it will increment and keep I is equal to 2 also, and it will enter inside our for loop, okay? Now inside our for loop, that means our j loop, right? So what it will see, j is equal to I, that is nothing but what? J is equal to 1, right? Because I is equal to 1, and you get here values also what? 1, 1, because here the value is what? 1, correct? That is where you are getting here 1, okay? Now it will check 1 is less than 1? No, right? It is equal to, that is where you are getting false, correct? Then it will go for j is equal to 2. Then it sees j is equal to 2. That means, okay, j is equal to 2 means now it is 5, right? Because 0, 1 and 2, correct? So you get your value as what? 5, correct? That is where now it will test. 1 is less than 5. Yes, it is true. That is where it will go inside the loop and it will give us this particular console.log statement. Similarly, it will go down. When j is equal to 3, what is the j value? J value becomes what? 2, right? That is what we have here. Everything I have consoled here and I am showing you very nicely here, okay? And then you are going to compare. 1 is lesser than 2. Yes, it is true. So it goes inside, and here also it prints. Similarly for when j is equal to 4. Similarly, for the next iteration, it is going to happen the same. Now we have understood how this I and j loop is working and when it is going inside it, right? Now what we can do, now we will come here inside our if condition, we have to sort also, right? The comparison matrix we have completed here. Now what we have to do, we are going to do here what? Swapping. Okay, because we have to sort. So what we will do inside this, first I will write here what? Console.log of ARR. Okay, so I will write here what? Inside template literals, let us write here dollar, and I will write here just our array. Okay, and we will write here what? Before swapping. Okay, now let us see what happens. Okay, before swapping. So we will come here and we will do a swapping. So we are going to get our array, and whenever we want to print an array, we will have to put it inside a square bracket, right? Now let us declare a temporary variable, okay? So I will write here what let temp is equal to, here itself I am going to write it. So let temp is equal to ARR of I, right? Okay. After that, what we will do, we will have to assign our second variable value. So I will write here what ARR of I is equal to what? ARR of J, correct? Now inside our J value, what we are going to put? Our temporary variable value, right? That is we have seen. So I will write here what? Our J is equal to nothing but our temp, right? Now this is what we are going to do. And now here once again, we will take this line and we will write here printing after our swapping, okay? So after swapping, I will write here our array also, okay? And then what we will write here, this is our J loop ending, right? So we will write here what? Console.log, that also let us write it, okay? For better debugging. So I will write here inside this what? Our J loop ends, okay? J loop ends and I loop starts. Just I am writing for the debugging purpose, okay? What will happen when it is swapping, the array will keep on updating it, right? Because we are updating the values here, right? So the comparison is going to change here. When it is comparing and when it is swapping, first time you will get 6. Then it is 5. So you will compare it with the rest of the values. So after swapping, your array values are also going to change. So let us come here and we will clear the terminal now and we will rerun it one more time and we will see that as well. So what we will write? We will write here what node, and I will write here day 60 challenge and we will hit enter. Now you see here what we will get. Let us come at the top, okay? So this is our array, right? Now see carefully. Now this is where it is turning out to be false, okay? That is where our J loop ends and I loop is going to start again with the incremented value, correct? So that is what it is going to do. So I is equal to 1, okay? Now here also it turns out to be false. Here it turns out to be true, okay? Then it goes inside and it says this is the values. For this I am going to perform the swapping now. So if you see here, we have got before swapping values also, after swapping values also, right? And if you see 6 remains there only, right? Now why? When I is equal to 0, J is equal to 0. And for all of this, our 6 remain untouched because it did not went inside. It did not swapped, right? So our 6 remains there only, okay? Now when I is equal to 1, J is equal to 1. That means it is going to test for 1 and 1. That also turns out to be false, right? So it didn't enter inside the loop. Now, if you see here, for this instance, it turns out to be true, right? So then what happens? It comes inside our if condition and it prints this line and then it has to perform the swapping, correct? So for that, we have declared a temporary variable, right? So if you come here, what will happen to the temporary variable? What is the ARR of I? The value is nothing but 1. So temp will get assigned with 1. Then what will ARR of I will happen to it? So ARR of I will get what? The second value, that is nothing but the 5, correct? And then what will happen to this? Then ARR of J will get what? ARR of J I will write and we will get here what? 1. So if you see at the end of the day, it was 1 and 5. Now it is 5 and 1. So it has swapped, correct? And then your array is also getting updated. So that is where it will get what? 6, 5, 1, 2, 4, 3. Now after swapping, what we have to do? We will have to work with the updated array values, okay? So we have done what here? When I is equal to 1, J is equal to 1, J is equal to 2, right? We got the values. Then J is equal to 3, it is false. For J is equal to 4 also it is false. And for 5 is equal to false, then the loop ends here, right? And that is where we are going to again go and increment our value as I is equal to 2. And the same thing will happen here. Now, if you go down, you can see very clearly again here when it turns out to be true, it has been swapped here, correct? Then again here, It turns out to be true. Again, the swapping has been done. So it has to go on with the same process. If you understood at a very first level, you will not get confused anywhere. So please have a pause on this and understand the iteration and understand the swapping, how it is performed. If this condition is turning out to be true, then it will go inside and it will swap and it will sort it in a descending order. Okay, so that is where we have done all of the iterations and I have debugged it very nicely. Okay, now after all this iterations is completed, we will come here and after this I loop, we are going to print our final array. So we will write here what? Just I will write ARR. Okay. Now let us just comment out line number 23 and the rest of the console.log statements also. So I will write here 28 also, removing this console.log statement also, this also, and this as well, right? And J loop ends here, this console.log statement. So all the console.log statements I have removed. Let us clear the terminal and we can just write here what? Node day 60 challenge and we will hit enter. What do we get? If you see, we have got our sorted array in a descending order. If you want, you can uncomment this and keep it also so that you can see what is your sorted array, right? So let us write here what? Node 60 challenge and we can hit enter. And we can write here what? Before swap and after swap. Okay, that's it. I will write. So let us write here before sorting. And here I will write what? After sorting. Okay. So just let us write here after sorting. Okay. Now let us come here and clear the terminal and rerun it. So I will write here what? Node day 60 challenge and we will hit enter. What we got before sorting, it was this much, and after sorting it was like this. Now if you see in the terminal, we are getting the exact output. This is what it was expected from us. Okay, now let us come here and take another array also and we will do the sorting. Okay, so I will write here what? Sort array, and in this we are going to pass the array. So let us write 90, 77, and then we will write 100. Let us write 450 and let us see how it is going to perform. So let us write here node day 60 challenge and we will hit enter one more time. So if you see 450, 100, 90 and 77. So we are able to perform this successfully, right? That means we have sorted here. Okay. Now let us have a quick recap of this particular question. So if you see at the top what it was been asked, we have to write a JS function to sort an array in a descending order without using inbuilt methods, right? And we were given what? Input and output as well, right? The sample input and output, right? And then we came down and we understood the approach as well as we defined our JS function, right? What we kept the name? Sort array, right? And we understood in the approach that we have to take a nested loop here because we want to compare, right? Our I loop will be responsible for the number of iterations, and then inside that our J loop and I loop both will be responsible for comparing, selecting and swapping the arrays, right? That is what we have done, and inside that we have used our if condition for comparing, and then inside that we wrote a logic for swapping, right? Then at line number 22, we wrote our function and we debugged here line by line and we understood what happens after each iteration, what are the values also, how the comparison is getting performed, right? Each and everything we have tested in the terminal, okay? And we have seen that as well, right? And then later on at line number 42 and line number 23, we just improvised our console.log statement also, that before swapping what we get, after swapping what we are going to get, right? So at line number 42, we have printed our final array. That is nothing but the sorted array, right? So once all the iterations are completed, we have printed our sorted array. Then at line number 44 and 45, we have invoked here by passing the two different arrays, correct? So now if I have to tell you for the first input array, what it is happening, elements are compared pairwise using nested loops, right? The first value is smaller than the second, they are swapped. And this process is repeated until the array is sorted in descending order. And that is where we get here our final output, right? So let us come here and clear the terminal and retest it. So I will write here what? Node day 60 challenge, and we will hit enter. So we got this sorted arrays, right, in a descending order, correct? Now I will tell you guys why this challenge is important, because it helps in understanding the sorting algorithms and the logic behind them. It also reinforces the use of nested loops, conditional statements, and variable swapping. Also, debugging is a key. So use console.log statements wisely to track the progress of your loops and variables during execution. Let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is to sort an array in an ascending order without using any inbuilt methods. Okay, so let's proceed with this challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. In the VS Code, we have our question along with the sample input and output, right? Now, what is the question? We have to write a JavaScript function to sort an array in ascending order without any inbuilt sorting methods, right? And if we see here, we have our input and output, correct? So let us understand this question and we will break down this question as well, okay? So we have to write a JS function, right? So I will write here what? JS function, okay? Now, what is the next important line in this question? That we have to sort an array in an ascending order, right? So that also I will write here. And they have also written that without any inbuilt method, right? So we have to keep this in mind that without using any inbuilt sorting method, we have to sort this array, okay? Now let us come here and we will provide the function name also. So we will define our function name as what? Sort array, okay? With a parenthesis. Okay, now let us come and see our input and output. Okay, if you see what is our array 615243, right? It is not arranged in any order. It is just the numbers, right, mentioned here. Now if you see the output, what is the output? We have 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. So you see it is been sorted in an ascending order. That is what we have to do. Okay, so let us come down and we will write our approach for this question. Okay, so I will just write here what? Approach. Okay, now I just want to tell you that in day 60, that is in yesterday's challenge, we have solved a similar challenge, okay, where we sorted an array in descending order. And today we will reverse the logic to sort the array in an ascending order, okay? So here also we are going to use a nested for loop, okay? Now why nested for loop? Because we have to compare each element with every other element in the array, right? And what is nested for loop means? There will be a I loop and then there will be a J loop, okay? So just let me write here I loop and J loop, okay? Now what is I loop going to do? It is responsible for number of iterations, okay? And then I and J loop both will be responsible for comparing the each and every element in the array. So this is what is the job of our I loop and a J loop, okay? Now how we are going to write here? We will be writing it like this. So there will be what? For loop, and here we will write what? Let I is equal to 0, because we are working with an array and our first element is placed where? At 0th index, right? That is why I is equal to 0. And where it will end? It will end at what? Array dot length minus 1. So we will write here what? I less than array dot length directly, okay? So I will write here what? ARR dot length, right? And then we will write here I plus plus, okay? So this will be our first loop, that is I loop, and this will be responsible for what? Doing number of iterations. So if you see here, how many elements we have? 6, right? So it will perform 6 iterations, okay? Then what we will go? We will write here what? One more loop will come inside it. That is where it is known as a nested loop. Loop inside a loop is called as a nested loop. So we will write here what? For let j is equal to I, okay? Why j is equal to I am putting? Because I don't want to compare the element by itself. That is the first thing. And second, whatever the elements have been sorted, I don't want to touch them again. So that is why I will start j is equal to I. You will see this clearly when we are writing down our function, okay? And where it is going to end, it will end at our array dot length minus 1. So in the loop we write less than, right? So we will write here what? J less than arr dot length. And what we will do, we are going to increment this, right? So I will write here what? J plus plus, okay? Now inside this, now we have to write a logic for sorting. Now this is what going to do. This is going to do the number of iterations, right? And this both the loop will what do? It is going to select and compare, right? So we have to compare each element. After comparing, we will have to sort it. So inside this, we have to write a logic for comparing and plus sorting, okay? So first we have to compare. How we have to compare? Now first we have to see in which order we have to sort. Now in this question, we are going to sort in which order? We have to sort in ascending order, right? So that is why we are going to write here ascending order. So here we will have to compare with I value and J value, okay? And if I value is found to be larger, then we will have to do what? Swapping we will have to do. And we will have to do the swapping of the two elements to ensure that the smaller one comes first. And we will have to continue this process until this array is fully sorted in an ascending order, okay? So let us see how we will write here. So we will write here what? If ARR of I, right? This is how we are going to get our I value. And this ARR of I value should be greater than our ARR of J value, right? That is what we are going to do. And if it is larger, then we will have to swap, right? So I will write here what? Swap, okay? Then how we have to swap? We will have to swap by using a temporary variable, okay? Now, I just want to tell you that in day 58, 59, and 60, we have done the swapping of the two elements, guys. So do watch out that video as well, okay? And now here we are going to swap with one of the method which we have used in our previous videos. That is by using a temporary variable. And when we use a temporary variable and we have to swap the two elements, right? So we need two values also. So the two values will be what? Our I value and our J value. So we will write here what? Temp is equal to ARR of I, right? After that, what is the next step when you have to do the swapping? You take this ARR of J value and you assign it to ARR of I, right? So we will write here what? ARR of I is equal to nothing but ARR of J value, right? Now we know that temp is also having some value. So we will take this temp variable value and we will assign it to ARR of J, right? So we will come here and what we will do? ARR of J we will write, and we will write here what? Is equal to temp. And this is how it will get sorted. So if you see, ARR of I will have our ARR of J value and our ARR of J will have a temp variable value. That is nothing but our ARR of I value. So this is how swapping will be done, okay? And this is what is the complete approach we are going to do. So we have to make sure this process is repeated until our array is fully sorted in an ascending order. So first we will use our nested loop, and inside that we have to compare. And once the comparison is successful, that means if a larger variable value has been found, then we will have to swap the two elements using our temporary variable value, right? That is what we are going to do it here. So once this entire operation is completed, that means when our final loop terminates after all the iterations, we are going to print our final array. That is nothing but our sorted array. So now let us come down and we will do the same implementation in our function as well. So let us write our function, and our function name will be what? Sort array. So I will write here what? Sort array with a parenthesis, okay? And we will hit enter here and we will quickly invoke it. So I will write here what? Sort array, and we will pass our input array to this. So what is our input array? This is our input array. So let us take here and we will pass it over here as an argument, and let us receive it here as a param. So I will write here what? ARR, and let us console it out. So console.log of ARR I will write. And let us come here and test it in the terminal whether this function sort array is running properly or not. So I will write here what node and day 61 challenge, and we will hit enter. What do we get? 615243. That is what we have passed from here, right? So we are able to get it successfully. Now what we will do here, we will write to this before sorting array. Let us write here. So this will be our array before sorting. So I will just write here what before sorting, this is our array. Later on, we are going to comment all our console.log statements, which are not necessary. But as of now, I am writing it like this. Okay. Now, after that, here what we have to do, we will have to use our nested for loop, right? That means inside our I loop, there will be a J loop, right? So let us write here quickly. So we will write here what? For let I is equal to 0 and then I will be less than arr dot length, right? So we will write here like this, and then I plus plus I am going to write, and inside that there will be our J loop, right? So let us write here what? For let J is equal to I, right? Because we don't want to compare the element by itself, and second, we don't want to touch our sorted elements also. So that is why we will keep shifting along with the I, okay? And then where it is going to end, it will end at our length itself. So I will write here what? J should be less than is equal to array dot length, and we will write here what? I plus plus, correct? And we will come here and we will hit enter, and what we are going to write here, now where our J loop is going to end, J loop will also end at where? ARR dot length minus 1. So I will write here what? J less than ARR dot length, right? And then we will write here J plus plus, okay? Now inside this, we have to write a logic for comparing, correct? First, and then after comparing, we will swap it out, and eventually we will get our sorted array, right? That is what we have to do. So let us come here, and first we will write our comparison logic. So I will write here what? If ARR of I should be greater than our ARR of J. Okay, that is what we have to write. And we will come here and we will write here what? Our flower braces. And in that, if it is greater, then we will have to write our swapping logic. Okay, so we will keep here, and now we will write 2, 3 console.log statements also to see how the loop is running. Okay, so we will come here, and what first I will write? I will write here what? Console.log statement. So inside this, what we are going to check here, what is the I value, what is the J value, and what is the I and J index value elements in that particular array. Okay, so we will write here what? Template literals, and we will write here I is equal to dollar of I, okay? Then we will put comma and we will write J is equal to dollar of J. Then we will come here and we will write here what? ARR of I is equal to nothing but dollar flower braces ARR of I, okay? Now let us come here and we will put here comma and we will write here what? ARR of J is equal to nothing but dollar flower braces ARR of J. So this will give me what is I value, what is J value, and what is corresponding elements in that particular array also. So let us come here and we will put space here as well, okay? And then let us test it in the terminal. So let us save it now. And let us come here and we will write here what? Node day 61 challenge, and we will hit enter. Now, if you see here, we have got this output, right? And it is performing this many number of iterations, right? Now we will understand first our I loop, how it is performing. So it is going to start definitely at I is equal to 0, and till when it is going to perform? It is going to run till I becomes 5, right? When I becomes 6, it is going to fail, right? So when I is equal to 6, it is going to fail because the condition fails. What is the condition? 6 is less than 6. Then it will terminate at this point, right? So you can see very correctly in the console also, it is running here. I is equal to 0, I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, I is equal to 3, and I is equal to 4, and I is equal to 5. That is how our I loop is running. So I loop is responsible for number of iterations for this particular elements, okay? So that is why it is performing from 0th index to 5 index. So that we have seen. Now you can see here it is repeating, right? 0 is running for how many times here? 6 times. Then in this case, it is running for 5 times. In this case, it is running for 4 times. So why it is happening like this? If you see now your J loop, now let us come to the J loop. Now it is running from J is equal to I. So first time it is going to run what? J is equal to 0. And it will run J is equal to 0, and it is going to run till which point? J is equal to 5, right? Again, when J value becomes 6, it is going to terminate the loop, right? Because the condition fails, right? So that is where it will fail here, and that is where it will terminate, right? So this is what it is happening in this case also. So here it will terminate. Now the first time it is going to be the same here, but we have to see here that inside loop itself will run 5 times, okay? So the inside loop will run 6 times. So that is why first time you are getting that J is equal to 0, J is equal to 1, J is equal to 2, J is equal to 3, J is equal to 4, J is equal to 5, right? And that is where we are getting here 6 times. And here we are just getting the corresponding values to it. What will be the value? Why we have taken this value? Because we want to compare, right? Compare, swap, and then finally we will get our sorted array, right? Now let us come to the second. When I is equal to 1. Now I will start from where? J is equal to 1, because at the end of the day J is equal to I, right? So you see here, and if you see here, now 5 iterations will be performed, because first iteration is removed, right? So 1 to 5 J loop is going to run. Then when I is equal to 2, it is going to run from 2 to 5. So here how many iterations will be there? 4 iteration. When I is equal to 3, how many times J loop will run? It is going to run 3 times. You can see here properly. Now, when I is equal to 4, J will run 2 times, because J is equal to I, right? So, J is equal to 4, J is equal to 5. When J becomes 6, it is going to terminate, correct? So, the same loop it is going to follow, the same cycle it will follow. Here, it will run only 1 time, because I is equal to 5, J is equal to 5. When J becomes 6, it will terminate. When I becomes 6, it will terminate. And here, it will be the end of our loops, okay? So then both the loop is going to terminate at this point. Now this is how the loop is going to work. Now we will have to also understand how it is going to compare, okay? So we have written this logic, right? So we will write here what? We will take this, the same console.log, and we will write one more line here, okay? That is nothing but when it goes inside. So we will write here what? Console.log, and I will shift little bit to here. And we will write here what? Inside, okay? I'm going to write inside. Why? Because it goes inside our if condition. That is where I am writing here inside, okay? Now let us come here. Now in the terminal, you will see n number of lines, okay? So don't get confused. Pause it and understand it properly, okay? So we will come here and we will first clear the terminal, okay? And I will write here what? Node day 61 challenge, and we will hit enter. Now you see here, you can see very clearly that in this case here, see, it is going inside. You can see inside. That time it is able to find that our I value is greater. You can see here very clearly. See, it is greater, right? It is 6. Wherever you see here, where it is showing inside, you just go and see your above value. It is greater, 6 and 4. That is why it is going inside and it is giving me. If you want to see that comparison also, you can see the comparison as well in your console.log statement, okay? That also you can see here. Now let us come down, and since we have written this, we will now write here our swapping logic also. So we will declare right away our temporary variable, and we have our first variable value. That is nothing but ARR of I. So we will assign it here. So I will write here what? ARR of I here, okay? And then what we will write here? ARR of I will get the value of our ARR of J. So I will write here what? ARR of J, right? And after that, what we are going to do? We will write here ARR of J. And this ARR of J will get which value? It will get our temp value, right? So I will write here ARR of J is equal to temp, right? Now let us understand how this is working now. So we will come here and we will see now first time what happens. We will see for this, okay? So we will take here and we will see this value. When ARR of I is what? 6, and when ARR of J is what? 1. So let us come here and we will just comment it and we will write it here, okay? Now this is our values, okay? Now let us see what we will get. So what will temp get? Temp will get what? 6, okay? And then what will I get? I is getting assigned by J value. So that means our ARR of I will be what? I will write here what? ARR of I. And this will get what? 1. Then finally ARR of J will get what? Temp variable value. That is nothing but 6. So ARR of J will be what? 6. So if you see here correctly, that swapping has been done, right? What is our ARR of I? It is giving me 1, and here ARR of J is giving here what? 6. But if you see here, ARR of I was 6 and ARR of J was 1. So you can see swapping has been done, okay? Once we finish the swapping, guys, what we are doing now? We are updating our original array values. You can see ARR of I, ARR of J. We are taking the index numbers, we are updating the values. That means your original array gets updated after each swapping is completed, okay? And we have to perform our iteration, our comparison, our swapping, everything on our updated array. So if you come here and you will see that the swapping will be done here. So let us see here. I will write here console.log statement. I will write here what? After swapping, okay? So let me write here after swapping, and we will write here what? ARR, okay? Now let us come and see here, okay? So let us come here in the terminal. We will just clear the terminal and we will write here what? Node day 61 challenge, and we will hit enter. See, now if you see here, before swapping, this was the values. After swapping, this is our values in an array. And now if you see, it starts comparing with our this particular values. It is not going to compare with your before values, okay? Let us come here and we will write here that also. Here we will write console.log and what was our before swapping, okay? So let us come here and we will do what? Clear the terminal and we will rerun it one more time. So I'll write here node day 61 challenge and we will hit enter. Now if you see here, we have got before swapping and after swapping. You can see here clearly when it went inside, it swapped the values, right? This is what it is doing. It is swapping the values. Like it is going inside, it is swapping the values. So that is where you are getting 1, 2, 3, 6, 5, 4 you are getting, right? It has swapped up. Wherever it found the greater value, it swapped up and you get the updated array, right? That is what we have done here. Now let us come here and we will console our final array also. So we will come here and we will console it out. So after this loop ends, we will console what? Our sorted array. So I will write here what? Just sorted array I will write, and we will write here our ARR. Now let us clear the terminal and rerun it one more time. So I will write here what? CLS, and I will write here what? Node day 61 challenge, and we will hit enter. Now see, at the end you are going to get your sorted array, that is nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Whenever it is going inside, it is swapping it up and then it starts again working with your new array values, okay? That is what? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and 4. And if you see here, it is not going to touch your previous values, that is it is sorted. That is why we have taken what? J is equal to I. So it will start after that, okay? Now we will test this function one more time with new array value. So I will write here what? Sort array. And in this we are going to pass 56, 90, then 2 and then 13. And now let's test it in the terminal. So I will write here what? Node day 61 challenge, and we will hit enter. You can see here you are getting your sorted array. Your original array was this and you got your sorted array. So 2, 13, 56 and 90. That is what we have got. Now let us come here and comment out other console.log statement. So we will remove this. We will remove this as well. We will remove this as well. And we will remove after swapping what it is happening. Okay. Let us come here and clear the terminal and we will rerun it. So node day 61 challenge and we will hit enter. Now what do you get? Before sorting it was like this, and after sorting it has been sorted in a ascending order. That is nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here also 2, 13, 56 and 90. So this is what this question was expecting from us, okay? Now let us have a quick recap of this particular question. So I will come above and we will read out the question. We have to write a JavaScript function to sort an array in an ascending order without any inbuilt sorting method. And we were provided with a test input and output sample, right? Then we came at line number 7 and 8. We broke this question. We have to write a JavaScript function and we kept a name as a sort array, right? And then we came at line number 8 and we wrote what is the thing we have to do. So we wrote here what? Sort an array in an ascending order. Then we understood the approach, right? What was the approach? We used a nested for loop to compare each element with every other element in an array. What is nested for loop? Inside I loop, there will be a J loop, right? And then we used our I loop, J loop to compare it, to swap it, and this we understood in our approach itself how we can swap it up, right, using a temporary variable, okay? So when we are done with all the iterations, then we will get our final array. That will be our sorted array. Then the same thing we did inside our function also. Exactly the same thing. We wrote our two loops, that is our I loop, J loop. Our I loop is responsible for handling the number of iteration. Then our I loop and J loop both together is selecting and comparing the elements, right? While comparing, if our I value is found out to be greater, then we have to swap, right? And we will have to swap our two elements to ensure the smaller ones comes first. That is how it will get arranged in an ascending order, right? And we had to continue this process until our fully this array is sorted, right, in an ascending order. So that is we have done, and we have written n number of console.log to understand the iterations, to understand what is the value before swapping, after swapping, and what will be the final output also we have done here. Then what we did at line number 46 and 47, we invoked it 2 times and we tested in our terminal. So let us retest it again. So we will clear it up and we will write here what node, and we will write here day 61 challenge and we will hit enter. We got our exact output, right? What was required, okay? So that is what this question was demanding from us, okay? So guys, in day 60, we ensured that larger elements were moved to the front of the array so that we get our descending order. And in today's challenge, we reverse that logic to sort smaller elements to the front so that we can get our ascending order, right? So what was the comparison of approaches we have done? To get descending order, we have done swapping if ARR of I was less than ARR of J, right? And in ascending order, what we have done, we have to swap if ARR of I is greater than ARR of J, and else remains the same, guy. And else remained the same, okay? That is what we have done. Also, guys, sorting algorithm like this uses pairwise comparison and it swaps to organize the data. It is important to understand such fundamentals before using built-in methods. When solving problem like this, break this process into smaller steps. Use console.log strategically to debug and understand how the array changes during each iteration. I hope you found this challenges helpful for your coding journey. Keep practicing, keep improving, and have a great day. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Code with Poonam for more coding challenges, interview preparations, and JavaScript tricks. Also, let me know in the comment section which problem you found the most interesting or the challenging one. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Happy coding, guys.